everyone, welcome back to Camp in a Box. Today we're going to make our very own ancient Greek vase. For this activity you'll need some things from home, such as writing utensils and a couple different paint brushes. You're also going to need either a dice or a number generator online that's set to roll from 1 to 6. Of course, in your kit you're going to get your black and orange paint, as well as your template and a large sheet of white paper. This activity is really unique because you rely on the use of a dice to decide what your vase is actually going to look like. So you could do this activity 3 or 4 times and none of your vases will look the same. Let's freeze for a second and take a look at our actual table here. On the left side you have all of the numbers that you could possibly roll on your dice, and then each column is an element of your design. At the very bottom, you have all the different areas where these designs could be placed on your vase. As you can see, there are also 6 different options for these. The first time you roll your dice will determine how much design you actually have to put on your vase, as indicated by our vases at the bottom. I rolled a 6, so I will have to do a top pattern, a bottom pattern, and then 2 figures inside of my vase. From there, I just kept rolling and determined the shape of my vase, as well as the patterns and what figures I would have to use. I recommend circling each element of your design as you roll the dice. Use a pencil so you can erase it later. That way you can keep track of what your vase is actually supposed to look like based on your dice rolls. Let's start out by drawing the shape of our vase. All of these different vases on your template held different things in ancient Greece. They could hold water or oils, all sorts of different things. So make sure you draw it nice and big and take up the whole sheet of paper so you have plenty of room to pretend to store things inside. This will also make sure that you have plenty of room to draw out all of your patterns and figures inside the vase. The smaller the vase is, the harder it will be to copy over these patterns and figures. Next, go ahead and grab a black marker and outline the whole thing. Once you've finished outlining, it's time to start drawing in your bottom pattern. Refer back to your template to make sure that you use the right pattern and put it in the right place on your jar. You'll want to start with pencil so you can erase any mistakes. Then, once the whole design is laid out in pencil, go back in with a black marker and trace over everything. Once you're done with your bottom pattern, go ahead and move on to your top pattern. I ended up rolling one of the more complicated patterns, so I took the time to draw guiding lines, and I made sure to use really light pressure with my pencil. That way it'd be really easy for me to erase things and redraw them as needed. We'll go ahead and use some movie magic here to speed things along. Once your top and bottom patterns are done, it's time to draw in your figures if you rolled a 5 or a 6 as your very first number. Now, the figures that are on your template are either creatures from ancient Greek mythology or common figures that you might find on a real ancient Greek vase, but you do not have to use these. You can make a Pokemon vase, a Trolls vase, a Paw Patrol vase, whatever you'd like to do. Just remember, if you rolled a 5 or a 6 as your first number, you have to put either 1 or 2 figures on your vase. Once you have your figures drawn, take some time to plan out what parts of your vase will be orange and what parts will be black. This can really go whatever way you want, but I decided that the majority of my vase would be orange and my accents would be black. So go ahead and grab your paint and start painting. I went ahead and started with black because I knew that I could paint over the dry black paint with the orange later on in the project. For the larger areas, I went ahead and used my larger brush, and then for smaller details, like thin lines, I used my small brush. I used a black marker to fill in my figures, but I didn't have a dark orange marker on hand, so I had to use my orange paint to fill in my top pattern's tiny details. I went right in with the orange paint, but pretty quickly figured out that I should have outlined all of these little shapes with a black pen, so I had a nice defined area to work within. That would also make painting the background of my top pattern a lot easier. With all of your little orange details are done, you can grab your larger brush and paint over all of your big orange areas. Anywhere where you drew with marker might bleed just a little bit with the orange paint, but we'll go back in and redefine those edges later. This is where you can see the figures starting to bleed just a little bit. All of the paint around your figures will turn kind of a grayish orange as the black ink from the markers leaches into the fresh orange paint. Now, if you used multiple colors for the figures in your vase, like if you had drawn a minion and colored them in, this isn't an option that you can do. You will have to paint around your figures instead of just over them. Once you've finished the large areas of orange on your vase, take your smaller brush and add another layer of paint to your small details. We'll be doing this later with both black and white paint on the rest of the vase. After you've given your orange details some time to dry, go ahead and grab your black paint and start delicately outlining your little shapes. Now this is where I quickly switched from using a paintbrush and paint to just using a permanent marker to outline the shapes and then fill in the areas in between with black paint. After you finish adding black to your top pattern, set the whole vase aside to dry for a little bit. Then you can go back in and add an extra layer of orange and black paint. This will help brighten up the colors and make your vase look more vibrant. In the ancient Greek vases, or fragments of them that we've been able to discover through archaeological digs, a lot of the colors are still really vibrant on these vases, even though they are thousands of years old. Don't you see how much darker and more vibrant those colors are? Now you can set aside your entire vase for another couple of hours to let the paint dry completely. While you're waiting for the paint to dry, go ahead and head outside and enjoy some of that summer sunshine. You could take a walk or ride your bike, hang out with some birds, just enjoy being outside for a bit. Once your vase is dry, go ahead and grab a dark pen or a permanent marker and outline the figures on your vase. This will help reduce the effect of the bleeding black ink and make your figures stand out a little bit more against the muddled background. Once you're done outlining, the final step is to cut out your vase. And we're all done. Now you have an ancient Greek vase to decorate your house with. Thanks so much for crafting with me today, guys, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.